comic book fans, and welcome to another exciting edition of Cammy's Comic Corner. I'm your host, as always, Cammy. Now, we've got quite the pick of the week, and we've got quite the Fast Five, so let's get right into it before my voice can go any higher! From DC Comics, we have Adventure Comics number 2, written by Geoff Johns and art by Francis Manapul. Now, I'll admit, when the first issue of of Adventure Comics came out, I was kind of on the fence. It was mainly just Connor Kent going, okay, I'm going to live my life like Superman did, and I'm going to have a whole list of how I'm like Lex Luthor, how I'm like Superman, and I was like, okay, well that's kind of nice. Can we just get on to some action, please? Well, this issue, he's still making the list, mind you, but we have a little segment with Brainiac and Lex Luthor working together as they're planning on maybe taking over the Earth, maybe, killing Superman. That whole thing. But since it's the Brainiac that Geoff Johns introduced to us a couple issues ago in Superman, it's quite terrifying. Meanwhile, back in Smallville, Cassie has come over to the Kents for dinner. And now it's Connor and Cassie finally back together again, finally talking again. And this was tugging at the heartstrings, because ever since I was a huge fan of Geoff Johns' run on the Teen Titans, way back, literally years ago, when you had Connor and Cassie on the team, and they were in love, and, after all the shit that went down, after, like even Superboy explains, when he just remembers fighting Superboy Prime, and then waking up and fighting again in the future, just that whole lost year of Cassie kissing Tim, and she's just so sad about that, and really loves him still, and he knows this, and so it's just so nice to see them back together again. That's what really sold this issue for me. Not only that, but you get a nice Legion of the Superheroes backup, written by Johns as well. And I'm slowly but surely, ever since Legion of Three Worlds came out, slowly enjoying the Legion story. So with Geoff Johns at the helm, with the cool Lightning Lad story, I was hooked. This Adventure Comics number 2, spectacular issue. Now on to the Fast Five. First up, from Dark Horse, we have Hellboy, The Wild Hunt, number 6. Now, in this issue, we have Morgan Le Fay talking to Hellboy. He's made this huge journey to come and find her at her request, and so she finally sits him down and tells him pretty much why she's been after him. Turns out, King Arthur's long line of descendants, they haven't always had the best treatment. They've been killed, tortured, haven't been all that well off. Well, we found out in discovering this issue that the only last living survivor from that line is Hellboy. So Hellboy is in line and needs to become the king of Britain before Nimue, or the dragon, who used to be Merlin's old, monk buddy, decides to take her army and invade Britain. Well, all Hellboy has to do is take up Excalibur and make sure that doesn't happen. And Morgana even tells him, you've always, even though you carry a gun, you've always been more comfortable with a sword. So it was a very cool revelation, gorgeous art in this book, and of course Dave Stewart on color, so you can't go wrong with a Hellboy story like that. Very good stuff. Next up from Marvel, we have Ultimate Comics Avengers number 2. Now in this issue, we discover how Red Skull came to be. It was kind of like his origin story. First of all, Hawkeye is trying to tell Cap, you know that the stuff he told you about him being his son, that's just total BS, just to screw with your mind, right? Cap doesn't buy that for a second. And then Nick Fury informs us all how Gail Richards, Cap's old fling back in World War II, had his child and had to give it up for adoption, but they didn't really tell her it was going up for adoption. They actually took that kid and trained it out in a government-run facility out in the desert. He is better than his father ever was. He can lift more. He's smarter. Can leap great distances. He is the ultimate the super soldier, pretty much. But when he arrives at age 17, he decides, all right, you guys have trained me enough. I think I can go off and do my own thing. And he fillets his own face off to give it that nice Red Skull vibe, and he's been a terrorist ever since. Very sad family reunion coming up. I have a feeling of Cap and Red Skull. And then you find out at the end also that Tony Stark has an older brother that we don't know about. So it'll be very interesting. It's all about family in this volume, it seems. So Millar and Pacheco at the helm, I have faith in the title. Next up from Marvel, we have The Punisher Max number 74. Now this is the exciting conclusion to the Welcome to the Bayou storyline by Victor Geisler and Goran Parlov. Pretty fantastic stuff. I was very happy with this entire arc, especially with this stunning, thrilling conclusion of Frank and the Thug outrunning the inbred Hicks, meeting Junior and escaping his grasp. And Junior's pretty much this just gigantic, retarded baby child. Like, you know, he's the mind of a 3-year-old, likes the stuffed bunny, the pretty bunnies, George, you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, so they fight him, and everyone dies at the end, pretty much. And Frank just makes a mental note to himself to never get involved in community politics, even though it does end with him saving one of the college girls at the end. Exciting stuff, gorgeous art. I had such a fun time, like I said before. Go check it out if you want a good old-fashioned Punisher story. Next up from Marvel, we have Dark Avengers, Uncanny X-Men, Exodus, the one-shot. Now, pretty much this is the conclusion of the whole Exodus story, or the Utopia story, of the Uncanny X-Men versus the Dark Avengers and X-Men, and it's just a lot of classic fights in this tale. We got X-23 versus Dakin, we got Wolverine versus Omega, Angel versus Hawkeye, Colossus versus Venom, Cyclops versus the Iron Patriot, Sentry versus Namor, and then pretty much Emma fucks with Sentry's mind, making Bob come out and then, you know, running away from the Void and all that. And pretty much Osborn sees that his forces can't go toe-to-toe with all these mutants. There's tons of them, and he's fighting them on their home turf of Asteroid M. So he has to retreat, and then Scott, you know, says his classic message of, if you're a mutant or seek shelter or a safe haven, come join us on, you know, Asteroid M. And then Osborn, of course, spins it his own way, saying, like, see, we solved the mutant crisis. They are off on their own, you know, little country. They have nothing to do with us anymore. So, yeah, congratulations, I saved the day. And now we go on to rebuilding with the whole X-Men thing again. We still have yet to see the whole confession one-shot between Emma and Cyclops, you know, discussing X-Force or the Cabal. But that'll be in future issues. Right now, that whole event is over with, and I had a pretty fun time throughout, let me tell you. And finally this week from Icon, we have Kick-Ass number 7, the comic book adaptation of the movie. That's right, it's not the other way around. The movie script was done way before issue 1 came out. Millar's just, you know, seeing the success of Wanted and going, hey, I can make a lot more of these Hollywood things and get lots of money. Anyway, enough about the negative things, besides it coming out late as well. But let's get on to the positive things. We have the Red Mist betraying Kick-Ass and Hit-Girl and Big Daddy. Big Daddy's being tortured. Kick-Ass is being tortured. They have a car battery hooked up to his testicles. And they know that he knows nothing or no information. But, you know, they're just torturing him regardless. This is what bad guys do. And then we find out that Big Daddy wasn't actually a cop. It wasn't actually a Punisher story. But he's actually a huge comic book nerd, too. And that's how he's been funding his entire venture against evil, is just with comic books, his old back issues. He's been getting the weapons that way, and he wanted to give his daughter a more successful and exciting life as being Hit Girl instead of watching American Idol and growing up with all those other teeny boppers, which can't you blame him? Well, they kill Big Daddy at the end, and they thought that they killed Hit Girl by, you know, shooting her up with like a couple dozen bullets, but she has Kevlar, and now her mind is on the mission. She saves Kick-Ass, and then now it's going to be Kick-Ass and Hit-Girl versus the bad guys next issue, which should be out maybe next year, sometime before the movie comes out. But anyway, I had a fun time. Kick-Ass continues to be great. Well, comic book fans, that does it this week for Cammy's Comic Corner. If you want more Cammy's Comic Corner goodness, head on over to www.cammyscomiccorner.com. From there, you can subscribe to us on the iTunes or on the RSS feed. Go chat on the forum, see my weekly reviews, just check out the Comic-Con section with the Comic-Con videos, etc. Also, if you like any of the kick-ass t-shirts that you see me wearing, not the comic book kick-ass, but just cool t-shirts, head on over to www.deadlinegraphics.net and send Kelly an email. He has all the best of Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, Image, etc. You want it, he can make it for you. There's only one name that I trust when it comes to comic book t-shirts, that is Kelly over at deadlinegraphics.net. Also, big shout out to my other sponsor, Rising Sun Creations at rsc-online.com. Rising Sun Creations specialize in manga, U.S. comic books, and in collectible toys imported straight from Japan, all conveniently located in one physical store in San Diego, Mission Valley, and online store, rsc-online.com. Huge thanks to Rising Sun Creations for being a kick-ass sponsor. And again, not the comic, just a cool sponsor. I like just saying kick-ass a lot. Anyway, that does it this week for Cammy's Comic Corner. Thanks for watching Cammy's Comic Corner. I have been your host, Cammy. Au revoir, bitches.